Tips para crear un modelo de innovación. Delimita tu mercado objetivo. Mientras más concreta sea la descripción del cliente, es mejor. Las empresas de mayor éxito empezaron poniéndose objetivos de corto plazo, alcanzar como máximo un par de mercados. Después crecieron adquiriendo un tamaño mayor gracias a la adquisición de nuevos mercados. Manténlo simple. Trata de que la descripción del modelo sea sencilla. Evita términos complicados. Aplica la imitación creativa. Oliver Gassman, profesor de la Universidad de St. Gallen, ha identificado 55 modelos de negocios responsables del 90% de las empresas más exitosas. Por lo tanto, en lugar de inventar en un nuevo modelo de negocio, sugiere buscar combinaciones de los modelos existentes y adaptarnos a lo que se desea lograr. Actividad 1. Diariamente nos enfrentamos a problemas o incomodidades que quisiéramos poder resolver de alguna manera. En algunos casos, lo que nos molesta podría incluso representar un peligro o riesgo en nuestro día a día. Analiza el siguiente video y reflexiona qué situación en tu vida diaria podrías encontrar similar a la que describe el video. Ahora es tu turno. Describe en un párrafo corto la situación que encontraste como una molestia, conflicto o un riesgo en tu día a día. Sin considerar las limitaciones económicas, propone alguna solución radical y genera un boceto, dibujo, diagrama o lo que tu creatividad logre para describirla y ejemplificarla. Comparte tus bocetos, dibujos o lo que hayas logrado y describe en un párrafo corto cómo funciona. Ejercicio de comprensión. Con la información que te acabamos de proporcionar y tomando en consideración el sistema convencional de educación de idiomas, reflexiona sobre cuáles son los principales paradigmas que rompió Duolingo y cómo lo hizo para convertirse en una de las empresas más disruptivas, más conocidas en el mundo.
My moment of serendipity happened just meters from this exact theatre. I was bicycling from my home in Ditchling Rise towards the seafront when a white van just in front of me, suddenly I realised was about to swing out of his slow-moving traffic into my path in the bike lane. I was completely unseen. I wish that I'd had a presence travelling just in front of me. A virtual me, if you like, travelling in front of me to warn cars that I was approaching. That was my moment of serendipitous innovation. And I dreamed up the Laserlight. The Laserlight is designed to tackle the most common cause of cyclist fatality, which is being caught in the blind spot or a driver turning across a bike they can't see. It is a front light required after dark by law, but it also has a green laser, and it projects the symbol of a bike just in front of you onto the road, so the driver in front can see that you're coming and doesn't turn across your path. It also gives a helpful heads up to a pedestrian with a head down about to step out of the pavement. The Laserlight began here. I designed it as my final year project at the University of Brighton. I was previously studying physics at Oxford University, but left to pursue something more tangible and more creative. We now have a small team based in East London. We raised about £1.5 million from investors such as the Branson family and Index Ventures. We have a global supply chain. We're shipping the Laserlight to over 55 different countries around the world. And we are stocked in retailers such as Evans Cycles and in the MoMA Design Store in New York. We launched our second product, the Burner, just before Christmas, a backlight. We launched it on Kickstarter and we wanted to raise £35,000 in a month. We did that in the first day. We went on to raise £153,000. But the most exciting news for Blaze came at the end of last year, when we announced that our laser technology is being integrated into all of the Santander cycles, or Boris bikes, in London. TfL conducted some in-depth research. They commissioned TRL, who's the Transport Research Laboratory, to conduct many experiments. They tested the effectiveness of the Laserlight around HGVs, buses, vans, cars, in different light conditions and different road surfaces, It was a lengthy process, and I was very nervous because I wasn't allowed to be involved at all. But they submitted a 92-page document with some amazing findings. Things like a bike with a Laserlight in pitch black is more visible than a bike without in broad daylight. It decreases the blind spot of an HGV by over 25% and a van by over 30%. The Laserlight is a very simple idea. The Laserlight is a very simple idea, but it's now proven to be effective, and it's crazy enough to be a radical innovation. Now, there's long been comparisons between serendipity and innovations in science and technology. For example, Alexander Fleming and his accidental discovery of penicillin. Albert Hofmann and his possibly surprising discovery of the hallucinogenic effects of LSD when trying to find a drug to cure a migraine. And Percy Spencer and his accidental invention of the microwave. Perhaps that moment that sparks the innovation in serendipity can also be called the eureka moment. And no more obvious with the example of Archimedes when he leapt out of his bath and realised that the volume of water that he displaced was equal to the volume of his body. Now, but are these moments all true examples of serendipity? Would these things and these creations and these innovations have happened without that one unusual moment? Or are they just a clear example of a memorable, unusual moment of conception? Would Newton have discovered gravity had his proverbial apple not fallen on his head? Now, I am by no means drawing direct conclusions between the fundamental laws of physics and my own invention. But without the presence of Archimedes and the ability to ask him the question, and only able to draw on my own examples, I find it really hard to imagine creating the Laserlight without my eureka moment 50 yards from this building and that white van. Now, I do not believe that any of these examples occurred purely out of an unusual moment, but instead, that eureka moment combined with many, many weeks, if not decades, of research into a specific problem. Mine came on my first day of university. I just spent the summer cycling the length of the UK for charity, and I came back to university with the theme urban cycling. I had my idea. It was brilliant. I was going to do brake lights for bikes. I ran into my course leader's classroom, Mr. Morris, and said, Mr. Morris, I've got to tell you about my brilliant idea. He didn't believe me. He said, I don't think you're tackling an actual problem. Go away and do the research and really understand the problem you want to solve before you come at me with a solution. So I went away absolutely furious and determined to prove him wrong. I gave myself the theme, urban cycling, and I then gave myself the challenge. I wanted to find the biggest problem for city cyclists. I didn't care if it was getting wet, or your bike nicked, or losing your way. But it had to be the biggest problem. After kicking off some research, I quickly identified that personal safety was the biggest challenge for city cyclists. Then, after weeks of deep diving in the statistics of which accidents most commonly happen in which scenarios, the fact that being caught in the blind spot or a vehicle turning across a bike they can't see is by far the most common cause of fatality. I then spent 6 months working with a driving psychologist in Sussex. I worked with the Brighton and Hove Bus Company. I spent many, many hours bicycling around town with a GoPro strapped to my head, all in the quest to understand the problem first, before I found that solution, and before I found that white van. So that was one of the most important pieces of advice I think I will ever receive in my life. to really, really deep dive into a problem before you find a valuable solution. I propose that perhaps that is one of the first conditions of true innovation and serendipity, to really, really understand a problem first. Newton was dedicated to understanding why the moon was pulled to the earth. Fleming spent his life looking at bacteria. And Archimedes was determined to understand how to find the volume of an irregular object. I believe the second most important condition is being able to spot the crazy. For example, I don't believe Archimedes. Scientists will acknowledge the fact that serendipitous events can create objects of real value. They conduct experiments with very, very tight parameters in order to quickly spot what's unusual and explore that. Call it curiosity if you like. Newton didn't eat his apple. Archimedes didn't get out of the bath, dry himself and carry on with his day. And Fleming didn't throw away that petri dish. Nor did I discard the really crazy idea of strapping a laser to a bicycle to help it be more visible. So I'll leave you with a final example of serendipitous innovation. Pfizer, the drug company, were looking for a drug to treat angina, the painful heart condition. They wanted something to increase the blood flow to the heart. Instead, what they found was a lot of the male test patients discovering that blood flowed to another area. They called that drug Viagra. And so to conclude, I'd like to suggest that to create serendipitous innovation, there needs to be two conditions. One, the will to really, really understand and go deep on a problem. And two, be open and willing to discover and then explore the crazy within it. Thank you.
Actividad 2. Revisa las diversas tecnologías disruptivas descritas en los links proporcionados. Recupera la actividad 1, innovación radical, partiendo que tienes acceso a cualquier de las tecnologías revisadas en empatía e integra a tu solución propuesta algunas de las tecnologías y describe cómo lo harías y cuál es el resultado que te imaginas. Actualiza tus bosquejos, dibujos, maquetas o lo que hayas logrado en el ejercicio anterior y compártelo en el foro. Hint 1. Para desarrollar esta tarea necesitarás retomar algunos de los temas que estudiaste en el primer semestre y entre otros los conceptos de identidad individual, identidad social, empatía, etc. Hint 2. Es importante que te asegures que la tecnología seleccionada será de manera correcta combinando el factor humano con los avances tecnológicos para apoyar o implementar tu solución, para anticipando riesgos y clarificando acciones, tal como lo menciona el artículo.
The future is now. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 future technologies that may change the world. Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. For this list, we're taking a look at the most cutting-edge technologies and innovations that could change the way we live on our little blue planet. Number 10. Sound disruptors for firefighting. George Mason University engineering students Seth Robertson and Viet Tran may have drastically altered the future of fighting fire. They've developed a sonic fire extinguisher that moves the air at frequencies between 30 and 60 hertz, which interrupts oxidization at the core of a fire. Basically, it separates the fuel from the oxygen. And, as everyone who has ever tried to get a campfire going knows, you need those things to be working in tandem if you want to get a flame going. They've had success thus far on alcohol-based fires, but if they get it to work on other fuels like wood or oil, it could provide a cheaper, cleaner, and more efficient way to battle blazes. Number 9. Hyperloop.
Radio City Mutant Hall.
Cool. This is another brainwave from Elon Musk and Space Exploration Technologies Corporation, better known as SpaceX, that hopes to improve and ultimately change the face of transportation. The design is surprisingly elegant in its simplicity. They are specifically designed pods or capsules upheld in a near vacuum and floating on 0.05 inches of pressurized air that are then sent at high speeds through a steel tube. While it does sound a tad claustrophobic, these passenger capsules would travel at an average speed of approximately 600 miles per hour, with potential max speeds of up to 760 miles per hour. Energy efficient and wicked fast, it could change the way people get from place to place forever.
Los Angeles to San Francisco usually takes about 7-8 hours. If you don't run into traffic, this would take you there in about 30 minutes.
Number 8. Transhumanism. More of an intellectual movement than an invention, transhumanism is the belief that humans can still evolve. It's that final evolution linking our minds and bodies with advanced technology, a subject that's been popularized by sci-fi films and books for years. And in fact, the term transhumanism was coined by Julian Huxley, the brother of Brave New World author Aldous Huxley. The idea is to ultimately bring forth a post-human state of being.
We all accept that some combination of mutation and recombination is the raw material for change.
While the concept is unnerving at best to many, for those who embrace the idea, there has never been a more exciting time to be alive, even if that life may be linked to a hard drive.
The fastest reflexes modern technology has to offer, onboard computer-assisted memory, and a lifetime of on-the-street law enforcement programming.
Number 7. The M drive. This is the name given to the design of a method of advanced space propulsion technology, also known as a radio frequency or RF resonant cavity thruster. This electromagnetic thruster uses pent-up electromagnetic radiation to achieve impetus and momentum without discharging propellant. If this sounds a little confusing, don't worry. It does basically defy the laws of physics. The conservation of momentum, implied in Newton's laws of motion, says it should be impossible, and therefore there are many skeptical scientists who've given it the nickname the impossible drive. However, if they do get it to work, it would completely change how we could lift off, making space exploration and defense missions that much simpler. Number 6. Smart Things. Samsung bought the company back in 2014, and the concept is basically in the name. The idea is to produce smart homes using an open platform wherein your appliances and devices all interact with one another. You know, like in the Jetsons or maybe that Treehouse of Horror 12 episode.
Say, it's a bit stuffy in here, and I know a certain someone who really fancies lilac.
I just like it is all.
Using the Internet of Things, the system would work on a hub connected straight into the house's internet router, connecting devices to one another via the cloud. Companionable things could consist of locks, lights, electrical outlets, motion sensors, speakers, moisture sensors, and thermostats. Like most innovations that lurk on the border of sci-fi and reality, this sounds like it could either be amazing or a hacker's paradise.
Read email.
Okay, I will read email for Theodore Twombly.
Number 5. Driverless cars.
Oh my gosh, it's changing lanes on its own.
Already being tested by Google and Tesla Motors. This innovation could change everything from the way people are employed, to the way we interact, to the layout of cities. It could even spell the end of the auto industry altogether. The deal with driverless or autonomous cars is not that you'll own one, but that no one will own one. Already, fewer and fewer people are choosing to purchase cars, an expensive investment that's only used on average 5% of the time, according to transportation advisor Paul Barter. More people are opting for rideshare groups like Uber, and that's where a driver starts to become redundant. Basically, think of a world of Johnny cabs. Fewer cars, less pollution, narrowing roads, more public space.
Where am I? You're in a Johnny cab.
Number 4. Electric cars. Even if you don't believe in man-made climate change, everyone can probably agree that wasteful and non-renewable fuels are virtually unnecessary these days. People have been trying to get electric cars running for practically as long as cars have existed, but so far they've been hindered by the distances they can travel, speed, and a lack of charging stations. But with the rise of companies like Tesla Motors, those issues are falling by the wayside as we begin to change the way we think about driving. Tesla isn't the only group developing these newer cars, which as of 2016 are equipped with self-driving hardware, but they've definitely hit the fast lane. Number 3, virtual reality.
Virtual reality holds a key to the evolution of the human mind, and that's my focus.
Like the electric car, scientists have been trying to get virtual reality, or VR technology, off the ground for a long time. VR can refer to basically any immersive software that simulates real sights, sounds, and experiences. While the 2010s saw it being marketed as a way to give gamers a more full-on experience, the technology is being explored for application in many other areas, like engineering, military training, archaeology, phobia treatments and therapy, and film.
We saw very quickly, showing different architects and engineers, that they really needed VR to see space.
With augmented reality quickly becoming an actual reality, this technology will eventually change not only how we see the world, but also how we interact with it. Number 2, artificial intelligence, or robots with personalities. This is perhaps the most highly criticized technology on this list, and the one most likely to make people wary: artificial intelligence. Many years of cinema have taught us that it can go one of two ways. It could be incredible, or incredibly horrifying. While proponents of AI development argue that it will help people in many tasks, the developments of machines with a human or greater level of intelligence has raised a lot of philosophical as well as ethical debates.
Is it interesting?
From the risk of putting humans out of jobs, to general safety, to the moral ramifications of creating something sentient purely for servile work, the discussion is sure to be a long one, and will surely shape our future.
I think it'd be fair to say that not all AI futures are benign.
Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
Our vision is to transition eye tracking from being an expensive lab equipment into everyday products.
Levels of filtration, then you can drink water.
Number 1, 3D printing. We've all seen the videos of those little objects whizzed into existence. No big deal, right? While it is obviously in its infancy now, the ability to produce items through additive manufacturing could drastically change how we live. What if you could print out your own replacement car parts, tools, household items, reproduce priceless pieces of art, functional weapons, medical devices? Its impact on globalization and manufacturing sectors worldwide, along with its potential to deeply affect routine labor and capital markets, should not be underestimated. It could also be great, leading to a resurgence of small manufacturing companies. While the social and financial impacts are difficult to predict at this point, 3D printing could be the biggest, most innocuous innovation since the printing press.
There is a way we can get action figures to look exactly like us.
Oh, yeah, how's that?
2 words, 3D printer. But maybe it's 3 words.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo and subscribe for new videos every day.
Actividad 3. Lee el siguiente artículo y escucha el siguiente podcast. En los ejemplos que se describen en el artículo y en el podcast, debiste notar que la disrupción tiene un espectro de aplicación que supera los productos y las empresas. La disrupción puede darse también a nivel personal y trae consigo grandes beneficios y descubrimientos que pueden dar un giro a la vida de quien lo aplica. Además, la disrupción puede aplicarse en cualquier contexto. ¿Te hubieses imaginado que el simple hecho de escuchar un poco de los sonidos que existen hoy a tu alrededor es una forma de reconocer y comprender quién eres y a dónde perteneces? Para interiorizar estos ejemplos y crear el tuyo, completa la siguiente actividad. Comparte con tus compañeros qué opinas del mismo. ¿Crees que la disrupción existe en todos lados? ¿Crees que un estudiante como tú puede hacer disrupción en su vida? Elige una situación en tu vida y desarrolla los 4 pasos de disrupción que se mencionan en el artículo. Prueba si puedes hacerlo. Este ejercicio nos ayuda a reflexionar sobre nuestra identidad. ¿Recuerdas en el primer semestre que aprendimos que las decisiones de cada uno de nosotros están influenciadas por nuestra historia? ¿Cómo crees que tu historia de vida e identidad determinó la respuesta que diste sobre cuáles son tus fortalezas? Hint, para desarrollar esta tarea necesitarás retomar algunos de los temas que estudiaste en el primer semestre y entre otros los conceptos de identidad individual y la identidad social. ¿Qué te diferencia de los otros? ¿Qué haces mejor? No olvides lo que decía Christensen, el motor eres tú. Actividad 4. De algunas de las empresas que fracasaron por no innovar, investiga sobre su modelo de negocio. Desarrolla un modelo de innovación adecuado según lo aprendido e inclúyelo en su modelo de negocio. Describe cómo hubiese sido el éxito de esta empresa. Comparte tus respuestas en el foro. Guías de exploración. Actividad 1. El propósito de esta actividad es que los solvers se familiaricen con el concepto de innovación radical aplicada a la vida diaria. Ayúdalo y motívalo a que se sienta capaz de crear soluciones innovadoras básicas desde su día a día. La realidad es que no necesitan ser empresarios para ser creativos e innovadores. Solo necesitan tu guía y las ganas de mejorar el mundo. Ejercicio de comprensión 01. Con este ejercicio deberás apoyar a los creadores de soluciones a que aterricen el concepto de innovación disruptiva y que logren romper paradigmas sociales, educativos y culturales para que su camino a la innovación sea más sencillo. Actividad 02. En esta actividad te sugerimos hacer reflexionar a los solvers para que retomen algunos conceptos de los primeros semestres, como identidad individual, identidad social, empatía, etc. Logren combinar el factor humano con los avances tecnológicos para la creación de soluciones mejor dirigidas y sostenibles en el largo plazo. 3. Reflexiona junto con los solvers para que entiendan que la disrupción puede suceder en cualquier contexto y en cualquier momento. Solo necesitan un poco de inspiración y como te comentábamos párrafos arriba, la disrupción se logra a través de la ruptura de paradigmas. Por eso es relevante que se realice la actividad desde lo más profundo de su ser. Recuerda que el cambio en la sociedad y en el mundo empieza desde lo individual, la persona. 4. Con esta actividad evalúa si los creadores de soluciones pueden lograr la implementación de innovación en un modelo de negocio, en función de todo lo aprendido previamente. En el resultado validarás que el tipo de innovación que elijan esté bien aterrizado y que los principales factores a describir en el modelo de negocio sean correctos. Habrá mucha información sobre las empresas que fracasaron, así que tienes que focalizarlos porque podrían perderse o ser parciales en su decisión, derivado de lo que encuentren en Internet sobre las empresas que usarán en el ejercicio. Asesóralos sobre los aspectos más importantes para tomar en cuenta y motívalos para que se arriesguen a pensar fuera de la caja. Lo relevante de esta unidad es la integración de la innovación en los modelos de negocio para poder revolucionar productos, servicios y formas de gestión. El mundo está cambiando rápidamente, además de existir condiciones críticas como la pandemia, a la cual nos estamos enfrentando. Así que los solvers tienen que hacerle honor a su adjetivo y aprender a dar respuestas inmediatas, a crear soluciones que minimicen las calamidades, a proponer productos que faciliten la vida de las personas o que salven la vida de las personas. Este es el momento preciso para que tú, como el excelente guía que eres, los motives, los asesores y los acompañes en esta transformación de pensamiento. Ayúdalos a establecer bases sólidas, personales y de emprendedurismo para que sean los que se preocupen o ocupen por dejar un mejor mundo a nuestras generaciones futuras. Innovación frugal. El ingenio ha sido el comienzo de sorprendentes soluciones, de grandes inventos y de inolvidables artistas.
Buenos días a todos, bienvenidos al proyecto de Barrio Activo. Este día vamos a estar compartiendo un módulo llamado Innovación desde la frugalidad y cómo impactar más en nuestros territorios. Yo soy Carlos Valladares, soy arquitecto y a continuación les voy a compartir 3 lecciones. El propósito de este módulo es poder compartir las respuestas a una gran pregunta. ¿Cómo podemos transformar nuestro entorno? Todos sabemos que queremos tener una mejor calidad de vida, mejores condiciones. Ese es el propósito de esta presentación, poder poner el concepto de innovación y el concepto de frugalidad al alcance de ustedes de tal manera que podamos generar esas competencias como líderes comunitarios en nuestros territorios, en nuestras comunidades Así que a continuación vamos a iniciar con un ejemplo. Este ejemplo nos permite partir para poder dar una idea de qué es la frugalidad y qué es la innovación frugal. En algunas de las comunidades de escasos recursos, conocidas como barriadas, en la ciudad de Lima, Lima periférica, en el cual una universidad, que es la Universidad de Ingeniería y Tecnología, UTEC, y una agencia de publicidad que se llama Mayo, que se dedica a hacer mensajes publicitarios, juntaron fuerzas, pusieron a los estudiantes y a los profesores por un lado de ingeniería y a los publicistas a generar estrategias creativas para poder solventar un gran problema que se da en Lima, como todos nos imaginamos, es una ciudad desértica, por tanto no tiene mucha agua. Y en este proyecto es sumamente interesante cómo unieron la publicidad con el agua y a las vallas publicitarias les crearon mecanismos para poder condensar el agua, atraparla y poderla compartir con las personas de manera gratuita y abierta. También ayudó a crear nuevas soluciones asociadas a esta, como lo es el cultivo de lechugas, cultivos de diferentes productos que obviamente necesitamos para nuestra seguridad alimentaria. Ahora vamos a compartir 3 momentos didácticos en los cuales queremos dejar 3 competencias. Por un lado, la aprehensión, digamos, o la comprensión de la frugalidad. Lo frugal no es más que un concepto asociado a la prudencia, al ahorro de los recursos y a disponer estos recursos al servicio de nuestras comunidades de forma sumamente inteligente. La frugalidad también es una cualidad humana que nos permite que los bienes o los servicios que nosotros tenemos los podamos usar desde una perspectiva restringida. ¿Qué quiere decir esto? Que muchas veces no tenemos abundancia de recursos, por lo tanto hay que hacer un uso óptimo e inteligente de estos recursos para lograr los objetivos que como líderes o como parte de una comunidad o de un ecosistema nos hemos trazado. Para poder explicar más de la frugalidad, hemos seleccionado este proyecto que se llama Liter of Light o Litro de Luz, traducido al español, que es un proyecto desarrollado por Alfredo Moser. Alfredo Moser es un brasileño y en el año 2011 implementó esta solución en Filipinas y es una solución que ha venido a revolucionar los contextos urbano-marginales o rurales en el sentido de que brinda luz desde botellas plásticas a las cuales se le incorpora un líquido con una mezcla como lejía, agua y unos componentes que lo que hacen es que la radiación solar, cuando cae en la botella, es decir, las partículas que están dentro de la botella se amplifican y generan una luminiscencia. Es como un foco, tal cual los conocemos todo el tiempo, pero sin estar conectado a la electricidad. Así que esta es una forma frugal de crear unas soluciones o unas innovaciones que nos permitan el desarrollo sostenible de nuestro territorio. El segundo momento es acerca del concepto de innovación. El concepto de innovación nos ha acompañado a lo largo de miles y miles de años. La innovación no solo debe de ser un sustantivo, no solo la tenemos que entender como una palabra, innovación, sino también como un verbo, innovar. Lo importante de la innovación está en cómo nosotros podemos activar ese sustantivo a hacerlo un verbo y hacerlo una acción que tenga un impacto y una transformación en pro del bienestar de todos los humanos. Para ello, vamos a compartir un ejemplo que se llama Algramo, que esta es la empresa número 1 en términos de empresas sociales en toda Latinoamérica. Ellos empezaron a ver que el flujo de dinero que hay diariamente en estos contextos no era tan grande como para comprar un bote de champú o 2 libras de lenteja, sino que más bien se podía comprar al por menor. Entonces ellos empezaron a ver cómo podían sistematizar esta necesidad para poder hacer que los microempresarios o las microtiendas pudieran tener estos puntos de venta a precios mucho más baratos y venderlo por gramos para que cada persona pueda comprar lo que tiene de flujo de dinero para ese día y no obligarlo a comprar una presentación más grande como la que hacen muchas empresas. Así que Algramo ha estado también innovando. Básicamente han hecho una solución que permita llegar a las comunidades todavía más fácil, llevando al gramo hasta tu casa. Y han creado algunos carros pequeños con todas las condiciones fitosanitarias para poder llevar los productos que la gente necesita más cerca de ellos y poderlos vender al gramo. Finalmente tenemos el tercer momento, que es cómo podemos hacer que estas innovaciones frugales que estamos hablando y que hemos comentado anteriormente se conviertan en soluciones de impacto. Y para ello tenemos que entender que las innovaciones para generar impacto tienen 3 variables. Por un lado, cómo creamos valor. Segundo, cómo distribuimos ese valor, como veíamos en el ejemplo diagrama. Y por último, cómo capturamos valor. La captura de valor no solo se da en dinero, eso es una manera, pero también podemos capturar valor en el beneficio y la satisfacción, en, digamos, las ganancias que se pueden generar en el bienestar de nuestra población. Implementamos una nueva forma de trabajo, ahí nos damos cuenta de cómo poder generar alegría, un espíritu más cordial dentro de la comunidad. Eso es una ganancia y es una forma de capturar valor. Por otro lado, las innovaciones, para generar impacto, tenemos que tratar de que sean medibles. Tenemos que tener una libreta donde anotemos nuestros resultados y podamos evidenciarlos con nuestros grupos, ya sea de co-líderes o las asambleas comunitarias donde los representantes comparten lo que se ha estado trabajando en torno a la comunidad y con la comunidad, y eso pueda permitir, al medirlo y aprender de esas innovaciones, no solo quedarse en una iniciativa, sino más bien generar un movimiento que puedan generar un beneficio de mayor impacto y de escalabilidad, es decir, poder llegar a más territorios. Finalmente, en este momento, quería compartir una solución guatemalteca y es cómo poder solventar el problema del agua contaminada. Se dice de que muchas personas, sobre todo de poblaciones indígenas y de contextos muy rurales o remotos, tienen que caminar horas y horas para poder obtener agua potable, o más o menos agua potable. Este filtro fue una invención en la cual se generó un filtro, digamos, con carbón activado en esa parte de barro que vemos entre la tapa negra y el depósito. Ese jarrón lo que hace es filtrar el agua y luego por ese grifo pues sacamos el agua que necesitamos y más o menos se llena con 3 litros de agua y luego lo estamos cambiando y eso nos va dando un flujo de agua. De hecho, en El Salvador también, que es la nación de la cual yo soy, esta solución ha llegado y ha llegado a otros países en los cuales está impactando en estos territorios de una forma evidente. Y a mí me gusta mucho la palabra de hacer las innovaciones gerundio, es ponerlas en acción y no solo dejarlas como ideas teorizadas. Por último, quería compartir este ejemplo. Es un kit parque que se creó en un laboratorio con máquinas, fresadoras robotizadas, se cortó con estas máquinas y esta oficina lo llevó por encargo, digamos, de la Sociedad de Arquitectos Paisajistas a diferentes espacios públicos para que la gente pudiera usar los mobiliarios, jugar y de alguna forma termino la presentación con este mensaje: cuando el impacto de tus proyectos entra a la vida cotidiana, en ese momento se ha logrado realmente un impacto positivo a la cotidianidad que tenemos como seres humanos. Así que muchas gracias a todos por su atención y espero que haya sido de mucho provecho. Hasta la próxima.
Para innovar utilizamos los recursos que están a nuestro alcance. Sin embargo, existen muchas personas y comunidades donde dichos recursos son extremadamente limitados. En estos escenarios, frente a la adversidad, surge necesidad de ser mucho más creativos para resolver los problemas que se presentan de formas poco convencionales, empleando una cantidad mínima de recursos. El enfoque de la innovación frugal es centrarse en lo esencial, considerando que los recursos son limitados. El objetivo de este tipo de innovación es proveer soluciones funcionales y efectivas a problemas comunes con un uso mínimo de recursos. Generalmente, la innovación frugal se emplea cuando las soluciones convencionales son muy poco costosas o no están disponibles. Un ejemplo de esto son los segmentos de bajo poder adquisitivo que no se pueden permitir costear los precios de los productos procedentes del mundo desarrollado. Por lo tanto, este tipo de innovación es empleado tradicionalmente en zonas con bajos ingresos, en lugares que existen palabras para identificar variaciones. En algunos lugares existen palabras para identificar variaciones de la innovación frugal. India, Jugar; China, Heihan Chungin; Make Do in África, Canjú; ingenio mexicano. Pensamiento jugad. La innovación frugal en muchas ocasiones se asocia con el término hindú jugar, que se refiere a hacer lo mejor posible con los recursos disponibles. Y en la India, este término se emplea para describir un truco o solución temporal a un problema. El uso de productos o procesos que resultan de un pensamiento jugar es muy común en los países en vías de desarrollo y también son muy empleados en nuestro país. El problema con las soluciones jugar es que muchas veces se realizan en cachos o restos de algún otro componente que no fue diseñado con ese propósito y por lo tanto el resultado no es el mejor, ni el más seguro. Tampoco es eficiente o estético y en ocasiones puede ser ilegal. A pesar de estas fallas, Dichas soluciones resultan esenciales para muchas personas alrededor del mundo, principalmente en zonas afectadas por la pobreza, falta de acceso a la tecnología, desempleo o sobrepoblación, quienes siempre están en busca de soluciones baratas y accesibles. Pensemos en la gente que vive cerca de los basureros. En lugares como estos, el Jugar prevalece. Imagina el acceso que tienen a diferentes materiales y componentes de artículos en desuso, gratis o a bajo costo. Entonces este tipo de soluciones representa al momento una buena alternativa a corto plazo sin pensar en la seguridad o el futuro. En estos ambientes, la urgencia por resolver un problema y la falta de mejores alternativas fomenta el uso de jugar. La gente adopta una actitud de buscar una solución instantánea o evitar un castigo. Eso explica por qué se dan permiso para desarrollar productos jugar, sin considerar la seguridad o la propiedad intelectual, de la que hablaremos más adelante. Pero no todo es negativo. La compulsión socioeconómica aumenta la necesidad de un producto o servicio o una alternativa. Esto dispara la creatividad, haciendo que las personas recombinen con opciones escondidas en un producto o servicio existente. Aunque la calidad no sea el objetivo en las soluciones jugar, no podemos dejar de notar que la creatividad y la innovación son parte de este proceso. La imaginación, pero sobre todo la necesidad de las personas en esta situación, los lleva a buscar alternativas y obtener nuevas soluciones a sus problemas. Se podría decir que el pensamiento jugar hackea un sistema al romper las reglas, lo mejora al hacer sistemas existentes más accesibles y en ocasiones crea nuevos sistemas cuando combina el ingenio individual con la sabiduría colectiva. Ahora estas soluciones muchas veces se usan para resolver un problema local y pocas personas resultan beneficiadas. Otro problema es que al no tomar en cuenta cosas como la calidad, seguridad y propiedad intelectual, es difícil comercializar estas soluciones y desarrollarlas a mayor escala. Muchas de estas soluciones permanecen locales y rara vez son compartidas con otros que enfrentan retos similares.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm co-founder of Lattice Innovations, and at Lattice, we do technology development focusing on healthcare applications. And as mentioned earlier, I'm here to talk to you about Jugar and the importance of Jugar in product development. So you heard me. I develop products for a living, and I'm telling you that Jugar has a very important role for product development, and I'm asking you to give me your business. So as you mentioned, I mean, we do a lot of healthcare hackathons, and we actually took it a step forward by calling it a Jugarathon, and hell broke loose after that. And I have people coming up to me and saying, I really admire what you guys are doing. I mean, a healthcare hackathon, inspiring people, getting entrepreneurs on board, that's interesting, but I really hate the word Jugaad. Can't you do something about it? I was talking to a very close friend of mine about this talk, and I told him that I'm going to be talking about Jugaad, and even before I could finish my sentence, he said, isn't that a bad thing? I think that's a horrible thing. It's a short-term fix. It's unsustainable. It's not scalable. Why would you talk about Jugaad, right? And I get it. So I have, I guess, 18 minutes, a little less than that, to convince you guys to join my team, right? So I'm passionate about product development, and one of the things which I enjoy a lot is seeing how people perform Jugaad or come up with innovative solutions. And I've been amazed at times. I mean, I've seen something which after seeing it, I've wondered to myself, why couldn't I think of it? And the first such example is actually this solar water bulb. I'm sure many of you have seen this already. This thing can be described as a jugaad. It was invented in Brazil by a mechanic who basically realized that when you have a plastic bottle, clear PET bottle, you fill it up with water and bleach and hang it on the roof. Because of refraction, it actually lights up the entire place. And it's a very neat little jugaad which started from Brazil and has been used across the world, right? And that's the beauty of jugaad. When I first saw this, the first thing that came to my mind is, I wish I had been that mechanic. So I come from Delhi, right? And Delhi, we like talking about two things: politics and the air pollution. And when you have a 2-year-old kid, the Aam Aadmi Party takes a back seat. So come winter, my wife and I did what any loving parent would do. That is, go out and buy a really expensive air purifier that you end up using only twice. And imagine my surprise when 2 days after I bought that 15,000 bucks air purifier, I saw this. Some Jugadu entrepreneur in Delhi was selling DIY kits, which basically consisted of a HEPA filter, a fan, and a strap. And the air quality was comparable to what I had purchased, and it was for a fraction of the cost. I'm embarrassed to say it costs less than 4,000 rupees. I'm an engineer who designs products for a living, but yeah, I got taken for a ride over here. So moving on, let me give you another example, and just to make it a little interactive, I'm going to ask you to focus on the part which is highlighted. What do you think that is? It's a washing machine, right? What do you think that's being used for? Making a drink. You're onto something. What is it? What drink? We've got a winner over here. So it's basically being used for making lassi. It's a brand new one, so don't worry. Totally hygienic conditions. But yeah, I mean, when I saw this, I thought this was genius. I mean, this was brilliant. It's almost like some owner in a dhaba sitting there one fine day and saying, and he saw somebody transporting a washing machine, and he said, "Oh, teri." It was almost like that. I'm still trying to figure out whether the owner was a Jugadu or the salesperson who made a killing out of selling the washing machines was the Jugadu. So you get my point. I mean, I'm passionate about Jugaad, and I really like these solutions. I mean, but of course, I mean, Jugaad is a controversial topic, and there are two sides of the coin. And once in a while, you see the irritating Jugaad, which makes you wonder why. I mean, why do these people exist? For example, this one. Imagine driving a car behind this guy. He's giving you the left indicator and turning right. And that's when you want all this to stop. Or this guy, I mean, he thought he had a brilliant idea. He was making sugarcane juice. Said, I'm going to put an engine on it. And then he said, oh, my productivity has gone up. What can I do? Man, I'm sitting on an engine. I'm going to transport myself from one place to another while I'm making sugarcane juice. Traffic behind me can go to hell. But anyway. And so, like I said, I'm from Delhi, and Delhi people, I mean, they like to live in high places. Yeah. So I just couldn't believe my eyes when I saw this. I mean, this is the height of Jugaad. I'm sorry. But so I mean, my friend and I guess the argument continues. He continues to think that a Jugaad is an unsustainable, non-scalable, short-term fix, and I think it's quick. It uses fewer resources, and it's frugal innovation. And so I know that we agree to disagree, but given the number of positive points, you know which side I am on. So we're standing here. I've been invited by KEM, standing here in Tata Memorial Hospital, and I'm going to actually come up with a more provocative question. What about Jugaad and healthcare? And at this point, usually I duck for cover, but you guys have been a very patient audience, so I'm going to go ahead. So I can tell you one thing, that clips have been used in surgeries over here, so this is not a figment of my imagination. Sterilized rubber tubing has been used in surgeries, so I mean, things can get worse. But the reason why I'm talking about Jugaad and healthcare, and the reason why we organize healthcare hackathons, is because, in my opinion, Jugaad can be used as a starting point. Jugaad doesn't have to be the end result. Jugaad can be the starting point for more sustained innovation. And that is the reason why, with a lot of help from CAMTech, CAMTech stands for Consortium for Affordable Medical Technologies. It's a non-profit organization based out of Mass General Hospital in Boston. So with a lot of help from them, Lattice Innovations actually organizes healthcare hackathons, which encourages people from diverse backgrounds to come together, work on problems which require a lot of attention, which require frugal innovation, and take some of those ideas forward so that they can become full-fledged products. So over the next 10 minutes, I'll try to cover some examples and also talk about the success stories and what made those entrepreneurs, what made those startups successful. What are some of the key elements? So this is from a hackathon that I had the privilege of attending in 2012 in Mass General Hospital in Boston. It was organized by Camtech along with there's a group at MIT called MIT Hacking Medicine. So they had organized this healthcare hackathon. And over there, I mean, this is the beauty of organizing a hackathon where you bring people from diverse backgrounds. One of the participants happened to be a doctor who practiced in Uganda. And he came up with a very simple problem statement. 1.8 million newborns die annually on a global level because of breathing issues. And this can be very easily prevented. A major portion of it can be prevented with the right training and with the right devices. As you can imagine, training happens a lot. So nurses get trained and they have been given back wall masks. In spite of that, the results have not, we haven't seen much results. So the doctor who came forward said, I need help to design a system which can give me audio visual feedback. I just want nurses to know whether they're doing a good job or not. And what you see over here is the outcome from a hackathon. So basically 30 hours of hacking. So this team involved 2 clinicians, 2 engineers, somebody from the design side, and they came up with a very rudimentary contraption which involved flow sensors and pressure sensors. And the next day they gave a presentation. So what you're seeing over here is a Jugaad. They worked overnight. They knew the problem statement. They had people from diverse backgrounds, came together, put something together, and they actually walked away with the first prize. And 5 years later, this is the augmented infant resuscitator, AIR, as it's popularly called. This is the 4th generation device. They've already started clinical trials. And on the bottom right-hand side, you can actually see the significant improvement that this feedback system brings. The percentage of correct decisions because of the feedback has gone up tremendously. So this is the first time I'm going to say this. So from Jugaad to a sustained innovation. I want to say that more, but anyway, this is the first time. Moving on, I mean, as I mentioned, we organized this healthcare Jugaadathon in 2014 with Camtech and GE. And one of the teams basically worked on the problem of newborn deaths because of respiratory distress syndromes. And they realized that during transport, especially from a low resource setting to a center to a more advanced center, you don't have ventilators to basically keep the babies alive. And so they decided to make a low cost mechanical ventilator, CPAP device. And what you see on the bottom right hand side is a prototype that they put together. And again, 30 hours of hacking, a cross-functional team involving clinicians, engineers, designers, and startup enthusiasts. They came together and came up with the proof of concept. 2 years and approximately 1 crore in grant money. They are now ready for clinical trials. So this is from Koyo Labs, and this device that they've developed is called SaaS. So this is the second time, from Jugaad to a sustained innovation. I think this pill pack is the poster child of hackathons, because again, I had the privilege of seeing the team in action in 2012. What they do is provide pre-sorted, pre-packed medication. So you give them the prescription, and they'll pre-pack all the medication and send it to you. And you can imagine, this is very useful for an elderly population that is maybe suffering from a chronic condition, has to deal with a lot of medicines. So instead of them going through each and every strip, they basically pack it up. And essentially what they presented on day 2 was hand-packed envelopes, but neatly labeled, neatly sorted, good enough for any investor to realize what they were trying to do. And so this image is actually taken from their website. So from a hackathon to over 40 US states. So this is the third time I'm going to say this. So from a Jugaad to a sustained innovation. So it'll be interesting to know why these guys were successful. What did they do differently? So firstly, I'm using words. I'm using the definition given by the MIT Hacking Medicine Group. Hacking is a creative application of ingenuity. Jugar is the stepbrother who gets the stepbrotherly treatment. So, I mean, it's like cursing in English is fun. It's sophisticated. As soon as you curse in Hindi, dehati. But anyway, so I mean, I'm saying that hacking, Jugaad, same thing. It's basically working with fewer resources, working with tight constraints, and trying to come up with a creative fix to a problem. And the healthcare hackathon approach that we adopt, and that's actually been pushed quite aggressively by Camtech, has a three-pronged strategy. So basically, bring diverse teams together, rapidly validate clinical needs, and develop solutions. Right? So it's very simple. I mean, we recently organized a multi-city hackathon. The one in Bombay was in IIT Bombay. We saw a lot of participation from a diverse group. So we had participants from KEM, we had participants from other medical colleges. We obviously had engineers, we had designers, we had entrepreneurs who were basically running their own startups, and that is the kind of environment which we encourage. Gave them all the inputs in terms of the important clinical problems that need to be addressed. Gave them inputs in the form of mentorship and guidance, and let them have fun. So over a weekend, we saw so many ideas come forward, and a lot of those ideas are going to get taken forward as well. And I think there are several learnings for the real world. I'm going to talk about learnings for the real world in the case of entrepreneurship, but it's actually true for anything. So you have to harness the power of co-creation. The reason why the hackathon approach works is not because I work in isolation. I work with somebody from the clinical side. I work with somebody from the design side. I work with somebody who has supply chain experience. And that is how I am able to solve the problem. I focus on solving a very painful problem. So one of my observations from the three success stories that I showed earlier was their problem statement was very clearly identified. They knew exactly what they were going to address. They were not talking about, oh, I can solve this, and in the meantime, as a byproduct, I'm going to attack some other thing. They knew exactly what they wanted to solve. Identify a minimum viable product. 24 hours, 30 hours is not a long period of time, and in life, you normally don't have a lot of time when you're coming up with a business idea. So come up with something which is bare bones, which is good enough for you to communicate your idea, and that's what is very important. And marry the problem, not the solution. Doesn't happen in real life. I can't say that in front of my wife. She's obviously the solution. I'm the problem. And final question, do hackathons work? So I'm just going to cite some results from a paper which has been published by the current director of Camtech, Dr. Chris Olson. So they've organized 12 hackathons, which has seen 356 projects. 30% of those projects have advanced. Almost 20% move forward to clinical settings, and 7% have been used on patients. 22 patents filed, 15 companies formed, and $5.34 million raised in funding per team at a median duration of 12 months. So with that, I think hackathons work. I think Jugaad is a great thing. And yeah, I've forgotten about these things. I'm going to go and tell my friend about these numbers. So with that, I'm just going to end and saying that Jugaad might be controversial, but you can love it, you can hate it, but you better not ignore it because it's here to stay. Thank you, everyone.
Navi Rafu, autor del libro Frugal Innovation, How to Do More with Less, sugiere que al combinar el espíritu Jugar de los mercados emergentes, que se centra en las necesidades del consumidor, con la experiencia de los países más desarrollados en diseño, tecnologías avanzadas, organización y producción a gran escala, se puede lograr sinergia con soluciones de gran calidad y a precios accesibles. Esto hace mucho sentido si consideramos que en los países desarrollados la innovación suele ser costosa, requiere de muchos recursos naturales, toma mucho tiempo y es poco inclusiva, mientras que en las soluciones Jugar, la innovación es barata, ecológica, al emplear materiales de reuso, accesible a todos y rápida. Algo similar sucede si comparamos las grandes empresas con las pymes. Es necesario entender que las grandes organizaciones cuentan con procesos más complejos para innovar, requieren muchas aprobaciones y les toma más tiempo, por lo que esto es una excelente oportunidad para las empresas pequeñas, quienes pueden ser mucho más flexibles y reaccionar rápidamente a los